I was doing this particular session, what I'm going to do today, this I used to do every year from 1980 till the year 2015, because I was a regular faculty in IIMM at that time till the year 2015. So every year I used to have a session with the students, the current batch at that time, and I used to provide them this project guidance and dissertation guidance, which I am going to share with you now. So in a way, it's a kind of homecoming for me. I am reminded of my good old days when I spent a lot of time in IIMM. As you know, students, well, should I call you students or materials management professionals? I'm not very sure, but you are all materials management professionals as well as students. And as far as we in IIMM are concerned, you are going to be our students forever. We will continue to provide you guidance even when you complete this course and go away. So, dear students, as you know, there are 3 programs of IIMM which are currently running very well. One is the postgraduate diploma in materials management, PGDMM. Another is postgraduate diploma in supply chain management and logistics. And the third is the graduate diploma in materials management, GDMM. GDMM was actually our flagship course earlier, because at that time, that was the only course in the whole of the country which was recognized by the government of India for appointments and promotions to senior positions in the field of materials management. Later, that changed slightly, and today the situation is that PGDMM and pgdscml are more popular right now than GDMM. Doesn't matter, all are our courses. I don't mind that, but I'm just telling you the present status. In all these academic programs, there is a thing called project. In the last semester, every student is supposed to do a project. Now, since you are all working in organizations, I would like to tell you that the meaning of project in an organization is very different from what we mean by the word project in an academic program. In the organization, what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor. It is undertaken to create a product or a service within a specific time frame, within a specific budget, with unique specifications, and it works across organizational boundaries. There are many projects which are done in your organizations where you are already working. Construction is a project always. Construction of apartments, villas, drilling sites, pipelines, airports, power stations. R&D is also a project. Whether it is concurrent design or software development, these are all projects. And you may be knowing that installation and commissioning of machinery is itself a project. In marketing, the launching of a product is a project. Every advertising campaign is also a project. And in the field of event management, where we launch games, video productions, films, music productions, where we arrange fashion shows like Miss India, Miss World, Miss Universe, award nights like Filmfare Award nights. These are all examples of projects. So in your organization, when you talk of a project, you have something like this in your mind. When you come to academics, you have to change your understanding of what is a project. So in your PGDMM course, which is today the most popular course, you know that there are 4 semesters. In each of these semesters, you have 5 subjects. All the 20 subjects are right now listed in the slide, which I have put in front of you. Now look at the semester 4. In semester 4, the last line is project report and viva voce. So it is almost one full subject. Why almost? It is really equivalent to a full subject. So you are supposed to do a project work in pgdmm in semester 4. Now, the question will arise that when there are 19 other subjects available, the project should be on which of these subjects? You know my question. Should it be always on purchase management, inventory management, or logistics? Or is it even necessary that always the project should be only in materials management or supply chain management? Well, the good news for you students is that IIMM curriculum book, the rule book never says that your topic has to be only in the field of materials management. It is certainly preferable if you choose a topic in MM or SCM. We definitely encourage that. But the rule position is that if you desire to select a topic, say in HRM, human resource management, or in business ethics, or in management information system, or in operations management, please remember that there is no rule to stop you from that. You can select. As I told you earlier, as professionals in MM, we will certainly recommend to you to take up MM related project only. But the fact of the matter is that very good projects can also be done, very interesting projects can also be done in areas like management information system, operations management. Why, you know? Because those are the topics where a lot of technology gets involved. So you can explain a lot of things about various applications, various facilities. You can talk about storage, servers, networks, bandwidth management, all that. So many students do that. They select a topic in a subject which is part of their curriculum, but not necessarily a hardcore MM subject. Now, similar is the case with HRM. HRM is not a core MM subject, but if you take up a project in HRM, you have a facility because there a lot of behavioral science subjects can be added. You can do attitude measurement. You can measure like the satisfaction of employees with certain policies. So these are very interesting parts. And should you desire to take up a project in those areas, well, we don't stop you from that. Same is the case with pgdscml. Before I go further, madam, there is one request. If at any stage my audio stops coming, please make a call to me immediately so that I will do something about it. Because here I will not come to know whether my voice is reaching you or not.
Sure, sir.
Right. So in pgdscml also, we have very interesting subjects. One very interesting subject which I would like to point out to you is international trade. And another is research methodology itself, which is actually the background or the backbone of PhD programs and entrepreneurship and packaging. These are very good subjects, and you are permitted to do projects in these also. So what are the guidelines? Actually, the website of IIMM, that is IIMM.org, provides a lot of guidelines for the project work. these guidelines, they keep on changing also from time to time. So in case you are going to start a project soon, I would suggest that before you launch your project, download the guidelines from the website also. Because what I have downloaded earlier, it is quite possible that there may be some changes made after that. So don't get misled by that, and always try to download the latest guidelines. One more question I would like to answer now. Why is it that in every MBA program, in every IIMM program, we put a project as the last subject in the curriculum? Why should it be there? Dear professionals, I am raising this question because my own students, they have asked me this question many times. They say, we have learned HRM, SCM, we have learned MM, production planning, and we have learned strategic management. Everything is learned. Now, why do you ask us to do something called a project? How is it going to add to my knowledge? Good question. Well, I think I must answer this question, because if this question keeps on nagging you, you will not be able to concentrate on the project. Well, the answer is like this. In the field of education, the topmost level always is postgraduate level. MSc, MTech, postgraduate diplomas, they are topmost levels. After post-graduation, there is no higher degree. That is the summit. You are, so to say, on the Mount Everest. You have climbed. After that, the only thing that any individual can do, not only in India, every country, the only thing that you can do is to go for PhD. And what is PhD? PhD is nothing but research. There is a difference between learning a curriculum and doing research. The basic difference is this. When we are teaching you, we are only transferring knowledge. We read from a book, we learn from the internet, we gather that knowledge in our brain, and then we come to the classroom or we come to an online class session like this, and we share the knowledge with you. So teaching is nothing but sharing knowledge. But if you go on only sharing knowledge, how do we? Hello, a lot of background noise, madam.
Yeah, I have muted, sir.
Right. So sharing knowledge is fine. It's a good activity. But how do we create more knowledge? I mean, sharing knowledge is like buying and selling. But somebody has to work on creating new knowledge also. That happens in research. So after every post-graduation course, the only option left for you is to go for research. And research is the one which actually produces new knowledge. Research is for problem solving. In every human being's life and in every organization's life, there are problems. Let's start with yourself. Right from the day when you were born till the last day of your life, let me assure you, you will always be having problems. Nobody can be without problems. When we are very small kids, we have problem with mom and dad. When we grow up, we have problems with our brothers and sisters. Later, in college, we have very, very serious heartbreaking problems with our girlfriends. And then throughout the life, you will have problem with your wife. You can never solve those problems. And later, when the children grow up, you will have problems with them also. Besides all this, we also have to deal with problems relating to our job, relating to our health, relating to our finances. I'm not saying this to demoralize you. I'm just telling you that problems are a part of human life. Similarly, friends, in organizational life also, problems are continuous. And these problems are always unique. No problem repeats itself. Every time a new problem arises. Today, the problem is lack of morale in the workforce. Tomorrow, the problem could be lockdown due to COVID-19. Next day, the problem could be reduced footfalls in my mall. And day after tomorrow, the problem could be sliding down of the market share. Now, how do we solve these problems? Your postgraduate teaching cannot provide all the solutions. You have to solve the problems by doing real-time research. That is why, students, we include a project work in your curriculum so that you learn something about identifying the problems, finding out the reasons for those problems, finding out the core causes which are causing those problems, and then searching for solutions. Research is done by everybody. Even government policies are based upon research. Operations and planning in business are based upon research. Research is not only done by students, it is done by philosophers, data analysts, literary people, and artists. Yes, they also do a lot of research. Research need not be limited only to materials management. As I said earlier, there is no rule which says that you cannot take up a project, say, in marketing or in customer relationship management. You can take up a project in marketing, finance, production and material control, not in IIMM, but in other areas, you can take a project in banking, and HR is everywhere. So it gives you a very wide scope, and you can select the topic as you wish. Now you may like to ask me, with all these options in front of me, which subject should I choose? Well, my answer is, students, your subject choice should depend upon two things. One, your own interest. If you are not interested in a subject, you can never do a good job in that. So find out what thrills you, what switches you on, what makes you excited, what makes your heart throb. Select that topic. Don't think that I am talking like a idealist. No, I have personally done it. Let me give you my own experience. I was in the final semester of electronics at the graduation level, BTech level, and my topics, my curriculum was mostly consisting about electronic circuits, electronic design, and digital signal processing. These were my subjects at that time. But in the final semester, my interest somehow, I don't know why, my interest somehow went to illumination engineering, which was not in the course at that time. And in illumination engineering, I wanted to study the mathematics behind the conversion of black body radiation into lumens. Very different thing, na? Very different from my subjects. All my friends told me, you are wasting your time. You will fail in this exam. I said, don't worry. I am going to spend my time on that. We had already studied physics in first and second year. I went back to my physics professor. He was very happy to receive me. I told him I want to work on this problem. He said, why? I said, I am interested. He said, okay, I am there to help you. So almost for the entire semester of 6 months, I was not attending my regular classes so seriously, but I was meeting my physics professor of first and second year and working on illumination. I did that. Now came the time for my examination. I had to write the examination in electronics circuits, devices, and digital signal processing. There I found that the same mathematical expertise which I had used in illumination, I could use to solve the problems in these areas also. So when I went for my examination, I used those mathematical techniques to solve the problems. The examiners were impressed. And you know what happened? I got a rank, I got a distinction, and I passed my exam without really studying my real subjects. So the moral of this real life story, which I told you right now, is that your own interest is important. Research should not be based upon what others ask you to do. You should always find out your own passion. That passion will take you places. The first chapter in your project report will be review of literature. Review of literature is important because a lot of work has already been done in every field of investigation. And unless you know what has already been done, if you start doing everything afresh, you know what will happen? You will be trying to reinvent the wheel. That's a proverb, of course, but this is what happens. What has already been done by other researchers, if you start doing the same thing over and over again, you don't add to the store of knowledge of human society. Hence, the first requirement for doing the project is review of literature. Go through all the literature online and offline and find out what others have done. Make a summary of that. That should be review of literature chapter in your project report. It should cover almost 10 pages out of your total 100 pages. So nearly 10% of the length of your report should be about review of literature. The research process should be like this. You should very clearly select and formulate your research problem, do the literature review for that, and develop your objectives. What do you actually want to achieve? Once you do that, you should set up a hypothesis. Hypothesis is something imaginary. It is a solution which you have not yet found, but which could be a feasible solution. So your research should tell you whether that solution will work or not. That is what we call testing of the hypothesis. There are techniques of that. We will talk about that shortly. So testing of hypothesis is a very important part in the project. For that, you have to collect the data. And once all this is done, then you prepare the report. Dear MM professionals, your final report should not be very long nor very short. The ideal length of your project report should be between 70 to 100 pages. If it is more than 100, not only you have to spend more time and more stationery, but there are also chances of making more mistakes. So don't go for a very, very big project report. At PhD level, the thesis is almost 300 pages. You are not doing PhD. You are doing pgDMM. So for you, 300 pages are not necessary. Try to make a report in about 100 pages. But it should not be less than 70 also, because if you make a report in less than 70 pages, then the examiner feels that you have not done enough work. And these examiners, let me tell you very frankly, they don't always go through your project report very, very thoroughly. Many of them are lazy. They just look at the size of the report and they decide it is not enough. Now that puts you into unnecessary loops. You have to go on explaining and go on justifying. So follow the middle path, always follow the middle path. Try to make a report between 70 to 100 pages long. You will have to collect a lot of data. Data can be collected by several methods. Observation of a process or observation of, say, a management process, which could be like issuing of online tickets, or a process like a mechanical process like say ultrasound machining or something like that. Personal interviews can be used for collecting data. Telephonic interviews can be done. Questionnaires can be printed and distributed, and schedules can be made. So these are the methods of collecting data. Data which you can collect for your project is of two types: primary data and secondary data. Many people will tell you that you should go for primary data. Yes, I also agree. Primary data is always primary and it should be given more preference. It is much more impressive. Secondary data takes less time. But the problem with primary data is your effort, your time requirement goes up. You have to spend more time. Secondary data is that which has already been collected by some other agency or some other persons. So you are just going to lift that. But remember, when you use secondary data, many times it so happens that the original person who collected the data has made some mistakes. And those mistakes are passed on to you. And your conclusions also can become wrong. So that danger is there. But still, many projects report, they depend on secondary data because it is much faster to work with secondary data, and it requires less effort also. So when you have to make a questionnaire for primary data, you have to develop a questionnaire. That questionnaire should have simple questions, not complicated ones. Don't ask questions like a lawyer asks in a courtroom. You are not a lawyer. You are not a government person who is trying to catch a criminal. You are not a prosecutor. You are only a researcher. So make the questions simple. Strength lies in simplicity. Your questions should be clear. They should be elegant and sequence should be correct, and they should generate interest in the person. Don't make the questions very boring. Then nobody will answer your questionnaire. What kind of questions you can ask? Closed-ended questions are those where all possible answers are pre-written. Open-ended questions are those where the respondent has to write the answer in his own natural language. So which will be better? Obviously, closed-ended. Closed-ended questions can be multiple choice, fill in the blanks, selecting right or wrong, and things like that. Open-ended questionnaire can be made, but for the person who is answering, it is more difficult, and therefore your success rate in getting the responses will come down. The last category of questions is written as contingency questions. A contingency question is one where, depending on the answer to the previous question, the next question can be asked. So such questions also you can include. The difference between schedule and questionnaire is written here. Schedule is more costly, but time consumption is less. And in schedule, you can make personal contact with the respondents, and schedule can be applied even if the respondents are not literate. Schedules are also used in Government of India, for your information. Every 10 years, the Government of India conducts a census of the entire population. They don't send a questionnaire to your email. They make a schedule of the researchers. So a person comes to your house or to your office, talks to you, takes your replies, and fills up the questionnaire which remains with him. So that is used by Government of India itself. You can also use it if you have sufficient time. Coming to secondary data. Secondary data is less costly, consumes less time, and large quantity of information is available. But the disadvantages are it may be inaccurate sometimes, it is unreliable, and it can contain a lot of errors. When you conduct a survey for primary data, remember one thing: you cannot cover the entire population, neither the entire population of the country, nor the entire population of Telangana state, nor even the entire population of Hyderabad or Secunderabad, nor even the total population of your own organization. That may also have 1,000 employees. You will have to do sampling. Sampling. Choose a few respondents and ask them questions. There are two kinds of samplings. One, probability sampling, and the second is non-probability sampling. In academic projects, both are acceptable. Remember that, because many people will tell you probability sampling is preferable. Yes, it is preferable, no doubt about that. Probability sampling is preferable because in probability sampling, every respondent has an equal probability of getting selected. In non-probability sampling, it is not so. Non-probability sampling involves methods like accidental sampling, quota sampling, purposive sampling, snowball sampling, because these are not based upon real simple random sampling kind of thing. So every respondent doesn't have equal chance, but non-probability sampling is also acceptable. It is much simpler and takes less time. If you are doing a project relating to marketing, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, employee response, then it is much better that you go for the techniques of attitude measurement. Attitude measurement is where we try to measure the attitude of the respondent. Now, attitude is different from a quantitative measure. Like, when I'm collecting information about the size of a product, it could be in meters or kilometers or kilograms. When I am collecting information about the quantity of, say, petrol or diesel sold, it will be in liters or kiloliters. But attitude, can you measure like that? Feelings, attitudes, love, hatred, opinion, these require measurement, but they also require, along with measurement, a scale. Scaling is also required. So if your project is depending upon attitude and its measurement, scaling becomes important for you. We will come to data processing later. Now, the methods of probability sampling, I am very quickly running through them. Probability sampling can be simple random. This is one which is used by maximum number of projects. Lottery method can be used. You can also use random number tables and computers. Systematic sampling is also acceptable, where you have a starting number and an interval. And you can also go for cluster sampling, where you select a cluster, and you can also go for stratified random sampling. These are somewhat easier methods than simple random sampling, because these allow you to do your sampling faster. Multi-stage sampling can also be used, and geographical cluster sampling is also acceptable to us. Non-probability samplings are your second preference. If you are not able to do the first one, you can go for this one also. So here you can do accidental sampling, which is also called grab or convenience or opportunity sampling. You can go for quota sampling. Yes, that can also be done. Snowball sampling and judgmental sampling are also acceptable methods. What is now coding? When you collect a lot of data, dear professionals, just as we have a material code in our store, just as we have a product code in a mall, similarly, whatever variable you are collecting, for that, you have to assign codes. Without codes, it is very difficult to handle data. If you have to handle data about, say, 200 students or 200 customers, without coding and without classification, you will make a lot of errors and you will be getting confused all the time. So always, after collecting data, assign proper codes and classify them into certain groups. When you have to make a questionnaire, you have to conduct a survey. Survey you can conduct online or offline. So offline means you will have to meet the people or send your questionnaire by post or courier. Therefore, I would suggest go for online surveys. Online surveys, many tools are available. I would say almost in the market, 100 tools are available. But about 12 tools are said to be the best tools for online surveys. I have listed them in the panel on the left: Survey Sparrow, Survey Monkey, Survey Gizmo, Zoho Survey, etc., etc. Now, don't get confused. Survey Monkey is not a monkey. It is actually a software application. It helps you to generate a questionnaire, run the questionnaire, and codify and classify the responses also. In my opinion, this is purely my opinion, the two best tools are SurveyMonkey and Zoho Surveys. Zoho Surveys is unique actually because it allows you to do mobile surveys also. So your survey can be customized for every screen size. If a person has a small smartphone with a 5-inch screen, he will be able to use your survey. Another person may be using an iPad of Apple, which has got a 10-inch screen. He will also be able to do it. And somebody else may be using a desktop computer with a 24-inch monitor. No problem. That also can be used. So Zoho provides you that facility. The survey questionnaire gets automatically optimized for the screen size. This facility you don't find in other online survey tools. right now. In your project report, you must always use graphs. Graphs are for data visualization. You can see the data in the form of a table also. But if you present your data in a graphical format, as a chart, as a line diagram, bar chart, pie diagram, donut chart, area chart, radar chart, surface chart, bubble chart, or waterfall chart. Waterfall chart is available only in Microsoft Desktop BI. If you use such things, your project report gets a lot of weight. Weight means the examiner gets impressed. And the second advantage of graphs and diagrams is that drawing inferences, making conclusions, making predictions becomes much easier. So always try to codify your data, classify your data, and convert your data into any chart. The one which looks most colorful, most beautiful, you should try to use that. The charts like donut charts, radar charts, bubble charts, they look very beautiful, either on the screen or in a printed copy. They look very beautiful. So also the waterfall chart, which is available in Microsoft Desktop BI, that also looks a very beautiful chart. So try to use maximum number of charts. How to make these charts? Most of these charts you can make very easily because Microsoft Excel provides you facilities like cell relationships, mathematical functions, and graphical applications. So you can create a chart the way you want. You can format it and you can present it the way it looks most impressive to your examiner. Hypothesis is a statement which is an assumption. In your project, you must always have two kinds of hypothesis. The first is called the null hypothesis, which is your basic assumption. The basic assumption could be the rate of consumption of diesel of a lorry is not more than 7 kilometers per liter. This could be a hypothesis. And along with null hypothesis, there is a reverse hypothesis, which is called not reverse but alternate hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis is the reverse of the null hypothesis. So if null hypothesis says the rate of consumption of diesel for the lorry is 7 kilometers per liter, the alternate hypothesis will be it is not 7 kilometers per liter. So both are there. When you test the hypothesis, you will always find one is true, automatically the other is false. That's how you make a conclusion in research. Your data can be of two types: quantitative data and qualitative data. Don't think that qualitative data is not data. That also is data. Yes, very much. Let's talk about quantitative data. Quantitative data can be in integer values or in fractions. So a number like 3.5 is a fraction. It can also be written as a decimal number like 3.5. So integer values, fractions, and decimal forms are examples of quantitative data. Generally, for quantitative data, there will be units also: liters, kilograms, meters, etc. So these should also be specified. The data which is quantitative can be either univariate, that is only one variable, where there is one max and another min, or it can be a bivariate data. Bivariate data is one where there are two columns, X and Y. So X could be a month value, Y could be sales revenue. This kind of data is bivariate. So two-dimensional graphs can be prepared when there is bivariate data. The importance of units is highlighted in this. In the year 1999, NASA, National Aeronautical Space Agency of USA, lost $125 million because one engineering team was using metric units while another was using imperial units. Looks so stupid, no? Yes, it is very, very stupid, but this is what happened in real life. Mars orbiter, a spacecraft worth $125 million was lost because of mathematical calculations which went wrong due to improper care given to the units. Now, what is qualitative data? I told you a short while ago. In your project, you can use qualitative data also. Qualitative data can be about colors. Red, blue, yellow, green. These are not quantitative, they are qualitative data. If you are doing a research on which color of shampoo will be most preferred by the girls, it is qualitative data. Which food type is most preferred by Americans or Arabs is qualitative data. Country names are qualitative, opinions are also qualitative data, and person names are also qualitative data. Qualitative data requires appropriate labels. You can also mix qualitative and quantitative data. This is very interesting. Here is an example where you have mixed qualitative data about colors with quantitative data about per square meter price. That can also be done. Scaling. The heart of statistics is scaling. What are the scales? In research work, there are four kinds of scales you can use. The first is a nominal scale. In a nominal scale, the variables are only given labels. Look at the illustration at the screen. There are two speakers near that girl. One is on her left, other is on her right. Both are creating sound or music. Now she wants to know something about the differences between these speakers. Unless you identify them as A or B or left and right, you cannot work with data properly. So such scales are nominal scales. The second kind of scale is ordinal scale. In most of the attitudinal measurement projects, where you are measuring satisfaction, happiness, dissatisfaction, pain level, you will use ordinal scales. In ordinal scales, you know what is better than what. So if pain is more, it is bad. If pain is less, it is good. If blood pressure is too high, it is bad. If it is too low, it's bad. If it is normal, it's best. Such scales are ordinal. We have interval scales also. Here, you could use a numerical scale where the difference is important. And the last kind of scale which we use, which is the most powerful incidentally, is the ratio scale. So for all measurements of kilograms, quantities, distances, you will use ratio scales. So in your project report, you should very clearly be able to tell the examiner in the viva what kind of scaling you have used for which variable. Quantitative and qualitative data can also be further classified into discrete and continuous, nominal, ordinal, etc. Now, last point that I would like to tell you is, and I think this is a very important point which you must give a lot of attention to, what gets you more marks in a project? Do you get my question? What is there in your project which will give you maximum marks? Is it the number of pages? Is it the choice of font? No. No, definitely no. What gets you more marks are two things. One, the graphs and charts. That shows the examiner that you have understood the data. And the second is the hypothesis testing, what tools you have used. There are several tools which you have learned in your curriculum. These are all available in statistics books also. Tools like t-test, chi-square test, f-test, ANOVA. These are the tools which you will use for testing your hypothesis. But after you test the hypothesis, one last question arises. How reliable is this test itself? Correct? So for that, you have to show at the end of your analysis the calculation of Cronbach alpha. Cronbach alpha, when you calculate, you will get a number, and based upon the value of that number, you can prove to the examiner that your conclusions are right. So with this, I actually come to the end of my presentation.